The first dispensation of God is called the dispensation of innocence. That's when man truly was young. You know, when Adam was created, he was innocent. He was simple at heart. The serpent came to him and said, did God say you should not eat of the trees of the garden? And he couldn't discern. If he was aged in the spirit, he would have known that the serpent meant no good. He would have known that the serpent was not suggesting anything. The serpent was trying to route the path of rebellion so that he will fall from glory. But he wasn't wise, and he began to dislodge things. No, we must eat. We must not eat of every tree in the garden. Of all the trees we can eat, but the one in the middle of the garden, we must not eat or touch. They didn't tell you to announce it. They gave it to you as a code of existence. But he didn't know that the serpent was older than him. And the serpent told him, no, you will not die. What do you mean die? You came from God. How can you die? The serpent told him, you will become as wise as God. And God knows. That's why God is hiding it from you. This is to suggest to this man that there has been a politics going on before I came here. Why is this being accusing God when he has no challenge with God? But the guy was innocent. His heart was simple. And so he fell to the deception of the devil. And so the first dealing of God with humankind and the dispensation is called the dispensation of innocence. So that dispensation is between the time of creation and the time of the fall of man. Then after man fell, another dispensation was activated. So God began to deal with man based on his conscience. Anything the man thinks is right because there's a moral law that God planted in the soul of man. So without even having the law, the man knows intrinsically what is right from what is wrong. He knows intrinsically certain things that he should do. So now that salvation is not yet accessible, God decided for the man to function based on conscience. And if you study Romans chapter 2, you are going to see that those who didn't know Christ, they will be judged based on their conscience. Because that was the dispensation of God's dealing with man. And that was what propelled the actions of man. In fact, if you study Genesis chapter 4 verse 3, it said in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the first fruit of the ground an offering unto God. God didn't ask for offering, but there was something in them that made them perceive that it is right to honor the Lord. And so God was dealing with man based on those righteous perceptions, those conscience-based perceptions. I beg your pardon. And then Abel, he also brought of the firstling of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering. So the dealing of God was subject to the quality of your conscience. That was a dispensation. So that dispensation lasted from the fall of man to the flood. When the earth was wiped off, another dispensation was open. And so God saw that conscience will no longer work. At this point, earth had become evil, and man wants to test independence. So God allowed man to establish his own government.